Good afternoon. My name is Omkar Kulkarni. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. Thank you for joining us for the digital pitch session. We have quite a lineup of really great entrepreneurs who are going to pitch some amazing solutions for pediatric care, specifically focused on using digital software and digital technology. So we'll get right to those, but before we do, I want to introduce our impressive panel of judges who are great enough to come down and serve as judges today. So we'll start with Jim. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks. Very briefly, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm a partner in a small production company called Basecamp Films that is launching a new effort to use narrative in various technologies to further patient education and address social determinants of health.
Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Donegan. I'm the Chief Information and Innovation Officer at Martin Luther King Jr. Community Hospital.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Omid Talui. I'm Vice President of Digital Health at CareMore Health.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor McPartland. I'm the CEO of Scale LA. We are a healthcare innovation space in West LA, currently working with about 75 early and growth stage healthcare startups.
Despina Hopkins. I'm a healthcare IT consultant with a background in CIO.
Hi, my name is Anup Rao. I'm a neonatologist at Stanford.
All right, so we've got a lineup of 7 great startups that are focused on digital health that are going to be coming up here. Just a little bit of the format. They'll have 2 minutes to pitch, and then we'll have 3 minutes for questions from the judges, and then we'll if we have time, we can get questions from the audience as well. We'll keep them to 5 minutes. If we go past 5 minutes, the music will play, and we'll yank them off stage. But then I also want to thank Verizon for our prize, and so there's a great bag full of prizes here that our winning team will get. So at the very end, we'll have a chance to tally up the winners, and we'll have a winner of the digital pitch competition. So you ready for the first company? Yeah. All right. Let's hear that again. Are we ready for the first company? All right.
Good afternoon. My name is John Gasson, and I'm the CEO of CeraView Medical. We're focused on objectively measuring pain, real time and non-invasively, and this is our device. It's simply a patch that's worn on the forehead. Now, when you talk about pain, the order of magnitude of pain in the United States is incredible. Everybody knows we have a pain issue in managing pain. Over 100 million people in the United States suffer from a pain episode lasting at least 1 day. So that's larger than cancer, heart disease, and diabetes combined. But when you look at those disorders, they all have ways to analytically measure the disorder and then come up with a treatment strategy. But what do we use for pain when you're analyzing or trying to understand somebody's pain level? We use emojis. So this is the state of the art in 2019, is we have emojis to measure pain. Now this is problematic in the average patient, but what happens when you have a non-responsive patient? So this is Leo. Leo is 7 days old and just had cardiac surgery. So how are you going to manage Leo's pain? The challenge is Leo can't tell you. He can't even point to a smiley face on a chart. And then when clinicians are trying to objectively assess pain, they're all over the place. I was talking to a neonatologist this morning. He said he's amazed at the difference in pain treatment across NICUs and how inconsistent it is. And the issue is there's problems if you overtreat the pain and there's problems if you undertreat the pain. You're looking at complications in either direction. And Leo's not alone. There's 3.4 million patients in the United States, pediatric patients. When you look at the NICU, the PICU, the emergency department, other disorders, there's a significant opportunity to improve this situation. But you can measure pain. fMRI studies have demonstrated that there's ability to measure pain by looking at the changes in oxygen consumption in the prefrontal cortex. And what we've done at CeraView, if we've taken the same concept of the device I just showed you, you put it on the forehead, and it measures your change in oxygenation. And the key that what we're doing is we take that information, we run it through our algorithm, and we get an objective pain score. So your question is, does this work? Well, we did a 110 patient clinical study at Stanford University. And in that study, we had 2 arms where the patients were able to give their subjective pain versus our objective assessment. And what we saw is that we had over 90% sensitivity and specificity in the 2 arms where patients were able to give their feedback. So we think we can have a clinical benefit to patients in the pediatric environment by personalizing their pain medication and ultimately giving you the tools to achieve your mission of better patient outcomes. And you can see it's going to make everybody happy. This is Leo at 14 months. And so, that's our goal, is to have good outcomes for our patients. We think there's a great business opportunity here. Our regulatory path is we're going to have to do de novo 510K for adults, and then hopefully just 510K follow-ons using ourselves as a predicate. We've been talking to the patient monitoring companies. We have a small, dedicated, focused team and hoping to get this to market as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
What is the business model for this? How do you plan on getting reimbursed?
It's a really good question. To get our own reimbursement code, I think the price would need to be 20% of the DRG where it's being used. We don't see pricing it that high. Most of the applications we're looking at, we would come at a small fraction of the DRG. So what we want to do is we want to demonstrate shortened length of stay and better patient outcomes, and so overall demonstrate a cost savings that will be motivation enough for the hospital. There are future applications when you look at, for instance, patient management when they go home and managing pain outside of the clinical environment, where we're looking at telemedicine opportunities, but initially it would be just to go under the existing DRG.
Could you give us some feedback that you received while doing the clinical study? Some positive feedback that you got?
Some feedback. Well, when we were talking to the PIs, they were amazed with the data. Now, the key of doing the clinical study is it had to be blinded. So there was no clinical feedback during the study, or we wouldn't have gotten through the IRB, because we didn't want to influence the treatment of the patient under the current standard of care. But Stanford was shocked when they saw the data. Initially, we did a volunteer study. They turned to us and said, okay, we're going to the IRB to do a 100-patient study. We didn't even have a company name. We weren't even registered. So there was an awful lot of excitement, and there continues to be. And that's why in about a month, we're going back into Stanford to validate our new device.
Thank you.
Why did you build this product?
Why did we build it? Well, it goes back to our technical founder who has multiple PhDs in biomechanics and radiology, and he saw this opportunity, and I think the need is obvious. I got involved because I looked at the need. If anybody's ever done a startup before, there's a degree of naivete to get involved because it's a painful process. And I've done it once, and I said I wasn't going to do it again. But when I looked at this, and I looked at the market opportunities and the need, look at the opioid crisis, the need to understand pain, and when I started looking at the pediatric opportunity, you need to go no further than your own kids. Anybody that's had kids, you've experienced in dealing with pain with your child. And your childs are, often young kids are, they're pain catastrophizers. They're either not in pain or they're at 10. And so the opportunity to improve that situation became obvious.
How much of technical overlap does it have with near-infrared spectroscopy?
I'm sorry?
With near-infrared spectroscopy?
We use near-infrared and infrared optics. So we haven't invented anything new in the hardware. Our technology is the algorithm. This is not that different than cerebral oximetry devices, except that we have technology in there that gets rid of the signal-to-noise ratio and makes it a wireless device.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Arup Roy Berman, former medical director of the pediatric ICU at UCSF. In the battle to save lives, nurses and staff are our front line. Innovation must support our troops. This is their burden, and that complexity grows every day. You see that line, one misstep, infection, 1 in 5 chance of death. Mismanage the cuff pressure, trach dependent for life. These types of mistakes happen in every hospital across this country every day. Happen with well-meaning, hard-working staff that simply cannot get the support they need when they need it. And that is the biggest problem in medicine today, the gap between the collective what we know and what we actually do. Elemento bridges that gap. We help our unit leadership transform their priority practices into bite-sized microlearning and drive adoption across their front lines. It's simple, user-centered design. What are you looking for? Put it in, Find it weighted specifically for your team or unit, whether it's a smart checklist interactive guideline or microlearning video created by your own peer rockstar staff. See it right, do it right. It works. We've slashed hospital-acquired infections. We've driven top-of-license performance. We've automated training and auditing, helping it to scale, and dramatically reduced labor costs. Our clients love us, from the frontline nurse all the way to the chief nursing officer. It's crazy simple. We can even deploy without IT, and we can do that to enterprise. There's no PHI. And our clients, as they grow, they find that they all have the same problems, and they start sharing operationalized practices with each other through the cloud, standardizing to what's truly best. We've done this in hospitals, and we've done it to the underserved in safety net populations. So join us in our journey for better, faster, and more sustainable healthcare by empowering our nurses, enabling our hospitals, and elevating quality for our children, and ultimately all of us worldwide. Thanks. We're Elemental.
Hey, how quickly or how likely are the major EHR providers likely to bring in modules and features that could duplicate some of the things your product does?
How much have you worked with an EHR?
Not much.
I think the laughter kind of speaks to it. I mean, the EHR is really a record-keeping system that came from the 90s. It's a way that we're supposed to record what we did and what we're going to do. We're about a staff-centered platform that's agile, that is about how to actually do it. So we see ourselves as complementing and unencumbered by the processes in the EHR.
I had a question. How did you determine the impact on the hospital-acquired infection?
So what we did is at UCSF, we had split the hospital in two, 10,000 line days on each side. We had intervention units and control units. And in the intervention units, we deployed our solution. Otherwise, all the other teaching processes in both sides stayed the same. We watched our results year over year, and we compared that to the year prior. So we had control and intervention group, and that's how we validated it.
What was the increase year over year?
So we had a 48% decrease in CLABSI in our group, and actually in the control group it went up.
How have you gotten the customers to date that you referenced?
How we gotten them?
Yeah.
So the way that it started by is looking for the CNOs that are looking to drive change. But what helps us in getting to that CNO is having in the middle somebody at a unit level who's excited about this and gets them to give it that initial try. They prove that value in their initial unit, and then they're banging on the CNO's door saying, hey, my friends in my enterprise need it, and grow it up. So there is a bit of, well, there's quite a bit of word of mouth with this, and one of our goals for this coming quarter is to really put investment into our marketing campaign to be able to drive that message, to look for the CNOs who want to drive change, want to drive efficiency, want to do it in a fresh way.
Is this customized, I'm sorry,
Yes.
per facility? And
It's-
who does the work?
The customized that comes in on our side. So they come in with, this is what I want to do, they drop it in the system, we convert it, it goes to them. But then once they put it in, we ask them, do you want to share? And if you want to share, then you've got this shared library that other people can pull from and use as is, or they can modify it.
Thank you.
Hi there. I'm Dr. Ross Summers. I'm a practicing neonatologist and a father of 6 children. And I created First Day Healthcare to assist the parents of NICU babies that I took care of take home a fragile and sick baby. So prematurity costs our healthcare system on average $26 billion per year. We spend a lot of money. And these estimates don't even include when they go home. The burn still hurts. There's an estimated $33,000 per year per baby, with most of it being related to hospital-based care. The first-year ER rate visit alone is 64%, and 37% require a hospital readmission. There's increasing calls to prioritize NICU graduates as part of an overhaul of the healthcare system. However, currently there is no dedicated service to the needs of the NICU population. My model has 4 steps. It involves remote patient monitoring, predictive analysis, dedicated telemedicine, and a dedicated smartphone app for the parents. The monitoring consists of cardiorespiratory and temperature monitoring using the Isantis LifeTouch 7-gram single-use neonatal specific sensor as seen on this NICU graduate baby I took care of. And pulse oximetry is utilizing the Nonin Wristox pulse ox with a sensor on the baby's foot worn like a GPS ankle bracelet. This is a picture of my custom monitoring dashboard view of patients with the ability to set individual or group alarm limits. This is a view of the parents app with live vital signs of the date of the baby's vital signs. And the SMS on the right is an API integration that sends the parents a text alert if the baby's vital signs go above or below certain parameters, as well as to all team members. This is a sample of the online patient dashboard that they use on their desktop. Predictive analysis, I'm utilizing the HERO score, which is a monitor we use in the NICU based on a patented algorithm utilizing infants' heart rate variability, where results have been continuously updated in our monitoring software. The HERO monitor is the only neonatal predictive device proven to decrease morbidity and mortality in infants, as well as decreasing length of hospitalization. Telemedicine, a dedicated neonatologist, mainly myself, is available 24/7, utilizing HIPAA-compliant text and video conferencing, as well as to address questions from parents that they may have. Our vital sign data is supplemented utilizing remote examination capabilities with the Tito device as needed. All of our interactions are documented in our EMR and shared with the infant's pediatrician. This is a picture of our app. Upon logging in for the first time, parents could find current vital signs and a complete medical record documenting the infant's NICU course. We're able to track and share laboratory results, vital signs, and different growth parameters of these NICU graduates. Parents are able to view all of our interactions with our team. Scans or photos of documents from encounters with other providers may be uploaded, and parents are able to view a transcribed copy of other providers' documents, as well as a copy of the original. Parents are able to download a PDF and share parts of their infant's medical record with other providers as needed, allowing access to critical information in the palm of their hands. The medical record is completely maintained and updated by our team. Data input options for the parents only include the addition of any new providers outside of a hospital's network and updating to the calendar any appointments. It enables our team to follow up after appointments and create a circle that includes all the infant's healthcare providers, ensuring continuity of care. So in summary, we have created the first and only NICU health solution for this fragile population. It's created by practicing neonatologists. We built a solution on a need we see firsthand. Currently, I have testing ongoing with infants we manage in our NICU, and we plan to report our experiences in the near future. Thank you very much.
All right. So we have a minute for questions.
Yeah, so assuming a baby has an alert at home, what are you able to impact?
What am I able to impact? So that's a good question. I'm able to, first of all, with the analytics, I hope to prevent it from getting to the point where a baby is alert, that it goes to that infant of a bradycardia. But mostly the parents are intervening, and they all learn CPR before they go home. And we don't expect them to need to use it, but that's what they're learning it for. They're the front line.
How do you expect to get paid for this?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would really love to work with payers, because every hospital readmission costs them a lot of money, and currently there's nothing out there, and there's no incentive for when they call that pediatrician at 2 in the morning, my baby's coughing, what should I do? 99% of the time they'll say just go to the ER. So.
My question was around you being available 24/7, which I appreciate. And as a father of 6, you might be able to go on little sleep, but I was curious how you plan on scaling that.
So eventually I'm going to have a dedicated provider, neonatologist or NMP, behind a computer man station 24/7, a command station. And as I grow and network with other children's hospitals, I could have a dedicated provider monitoring multiple areas and locations. That's the goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ella Casano, and I invented MediTeddy.
And I'm Meg Casano, Ella's mom.
Since the age of 7, I've suffered from a rare blood disease called ITP, which means that every 6 to 8 weeks I have to get a 6-hour IV. The most intimidating part of this experience is the big bag of medicine which hangs on the IV pole. To date, there's nothing that makes this part of a patient's medical experience more bearable. Which is a problem because no patient should ever have to sit for hours on end with a bag of blood hanging over their head, and no sibling should ever be afraid to visit their sibling in the hospital. That's why I've invented MediTeddy, a stuffed animal IV bag cover that conceals a bag of IV fluids, ensuring that rather than the patient seeing an intimidating bag of fluids or blood, they just see a friendly stuffed animal. Well, through the mesh back, the doctors and nurses can still monitor the medication.
Due to the fact that we had almost instant interest from hospitals and corporations around the world, such as ones you see listed here, we knew we would have to be able to sell this product. So we created a sister corporation, IV Comfort Solutions, in order to sell MediTeddies and other upcoming products we have under design. And we hope to use the profits from those sales to help fund the MediTeddy nonprofit.
There are millions of children worldwide who are looking for something to brighten up their hospital experience, and MediTeddy could be just the thing that they're looking for. Up to 80% of all hospitalized patients receive IV fluids, and if every single one of those patients had a MediTeddy, it could one day make MediTeddy as commonplace as the IV tubing itself. Before MediTeddy, the entire duration of my hospital experience was stressful, but now I'm relieved to have a simple way to brighten up my hospital experience. I'm Ella Casano, and this is MediTeddy.
Questions?
I think it's awesome that you took a personal experience and were able to do something innovative with it. How is this a single-use application? Like, how are you dealing with some of the concerns around cleanliness and sanitation?
It's a single-use item. It's a comfort object. It's not a medical device. So similar to a child who brings their special blankie, levy, or stuffed animal and holds it through the duration of their stay. It's not shared between patients, although it is washable. It hangs on the IV pole and doesn't interfere with ports or the nurse will spike the bag or anything like that.
I wonder if I could follow on with that real quick, just to understand it. When you is it a new item used every time you are back in for another infusion? Or you said single use, so it was a brand new one each time?
So each patient would get their own MediTeddy that they take to and from their hospital visits.
Thank you. Okay, so same person reuses their own one.
It's very inspiring. Thank you. How would you prevent somebody else from copying this? Because it's something that other people can potentially copy.
I'm sure people will.
Yeah.
We have the advantage of thousands of articles and media around the world, and we do have a U.S. patent pending.
Thank you.
Have you gotten feedback so far from other kids who've used it?
Yes, we actually gave one to a girl in my school who had cancer, and she was just so relieved to not have to look at the bag of blood anymore. And we've gotten countless emails from parents with children who've been in the hospital and who've also had the same experiences that I have. And they've just shared heart-wrenching stories and claim that MediTeddy is just the thing that their patient needs, or their child needs.
Thanks. All right, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I would like to introduce you to someone. This is David Kelly. He's the father of design thinking, and he came up with a pretty ingenious way of turning this, the cold kind of clinical MRI, into this, the patient-centered, very approachable, child-friendly MRI experience. So that brings us to our problem, that MRIs are difficult and scary for kids, which results in about up to 30% of MRI scans being unusable in research settings, and then that necessitates sedation in clinical settings. So the status quo, the way things that are being addressed now is this physical mock scanner. It's a scale model of an MRI. It's kind of play therapy. They walk them through an MRI, and it works. The research says that it reduces fear, it reduces the necessity for sedation. The problem is that they're huge. They require a full room, and so a lot of radiology suites just don't have the space to house these things. Our solution is the VR mock scanner. So it creates a virtual experience for kids as they go in. They see the sights and sounds of an MRI. We also have head movement measurements, so if they move too much, they're notified via audiovisual cues. So instead of just habituating them to the space, we're also training them on what constitutes a good scan. And one of the biggest value propositions here is the compact delivery. So it requires no more space than an office chair. So every suite globally can have the access to mock MRI, and it can be delivered in every language as diverse as our patient population. So how does this help a hospital? It reduces costs. If one paper said that if a hospital reduce 800 sedations a year, they can save 1.6 million. In research settings, we throw away millions of dollars worth of scans. So that, I mean, if we can reduce that, that'd be amazing. And then for patients, you're talking about higher patient safety, you're talking about higher patient experience. So I think the value is definitely there. We've built a great team. I'm really proud to work with some of my advisors and the development team. We're starting to work on a pilot with Children's Hospital Los Angeles. Head of radiology is getting us started with the pilot. But yeah, I'm actually here to meet a lot of different children's hospitals and get some piloting data out there. So yeah, please talk to me. We also have a fully functional prototype. If you guys would like to try it, you're more than welcome to. And thanks very much. Appreciate it.
I want to know if you expect to expand that market beyond pediatrics. I just am so fearful of MRIs.
Yeah, actually the data suggests that in geriatrics the same amount is applicable. So we probably have one for peds, one for normal, and then one for geriatrics. But there's a ton of different settings where media and immersive technology can actually help a lot.
Just building off of that a little bit, can you go a little bit more in depth on what the experience is for the person in the MRI, and then what your plan is moving forward to scale that?
Yeah, sure. So we're really basing it off of David Kelly's philosophy. There's a little teddy bear, as you see, that walks them through the experience. As they go inside the scanner, there's a target where the center of their eyes match. So once they go outside of that target of a couple millimeters, then it says, hey, stay still, make sure you do a good job. And but it's really user-friendly. For the product going forward, we're going to get some IP for it. We want to get definitely supportive data. My background's in science. I'm doing neuroimaging for 8 years, pediatric neuroimaging. So get some IP, do some piloting, and get supportive data, and then license it to Philips or GE or one of the big players.
Is the idea around, when would somebody use this? So is this something they're doing at home before they come in? Are they using their own VR headset? Is this something they can use using, one of those disposable ones?
Yeah, this would be something they do about 30 minutes prior to the exam. So the nursing and child life specialist would be administering it. One of the great things about the traditional mock scanner that there's already a protocol to implement these things. So there would really be a low barrier of entry to getting it adopted in the different care teams.
And what's your business model like?
We would hopefully be licensing out to Philips GE. I'm not a salesman. They have a way larger scope. So if they can implement this into every radiology suite again and incorporate it into the suite of products that go along with their MRI, I think we could have the most benefit.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm John Constant. I'm co-founder of Propella, a new pediatric company. With newborns, it doesn't matter if you're treating apnea, prematurity, BPD, RSV, or neonatal abstinence syndrome. Your options to improve cardiorespiratory function are pretty limited. Well, we're working to change that. I'd like to introduce you to stochastic vibrotactile stimulation, or SVS, a gentle, random vibration generated in a bassinet pad. SVS vibration boosts the pacemaker neurons responsible for cardiorespiratory function. SVS does not interrupt infant sleep cycles, and it's non-habit forming. 3 peer-review articles report that SVS improves irregular breathing and heart rate, and they're replaced with healthy rhythmic rates. SVS also consoles opioid-exposed newborns, and in preemies, it reduces apneic and oxygen desaturation events. We are making a reusable SVS pad to fit your standard size hospital bassinet for $198. And to calm a fussy baby at home, we've introduced the SVS Baby Box for $234. We debuted at last year's American Academy of Pediatrics meeting, and thanks to our first NIH grant, this summer we conducted face-to-face interviews with physicians, nurses, and therapists from around the country. Over 1,400 healthcare practitioners have asked us to contact them once we have FDA clearance. We've won over $750,000 in awards and grants, equity-free money. And next week, we'll find out if we've won $1 million in the Ohio Opioid Technology Challenge. Our entry is focused on the use of SVS for neonatal abstinence syndrome, and we are the only pediatric solution left in the challenge. I hope you're pretty excited about the potential for SVS to help you help our babies. So keep your fingers crossed for us in Ohio, because we know SVS can help. I want to say thank you and congratulations to everyone who's presented today, and especially Elle and Meg with MediTeddy. I'm John Constant, and we are Propeller. Thank you.
What's your intellectual property position?
What's our value proposition?
IP.
Oh, so we have 2 patents that have issued in the United States for the application of SVS for apnea prematurity, neonatal abstinence, irritable babies. They were issued in April. We received a European patent this month. We have 2 other provisional patents that have been filed.
What is your go-to-market strategy?
At $198, hospitals right now are paying $150 for a piece of foam to put in the bottom of the hospital bassinet pad. So we're going to right to hospitals that are starting with neonatal abstinence syndrome cases and saying, this is something that's only $50 more. Why don't you buy it direct from us? So that's it. We also have a donor who's interested in supplying every hospital in the United States with 5 of our pads. And they're willing to make that donation as soon as we get FDA approval. So we'll also be soliciting hospitals across the country that want free SVS bassinet pads.
Is the at-home version direct-to-consumer?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So do you have a strategy for selling that? Is that separate?
It's already up on the website at Propella.com. Place an order today. We'll have it to you in 2 days. Free shipping.
I teed that up for you, didn't I?
There you go. It is. The claim is it'll console a fussy baby at home.
What are the steps to getting that FDA approval? Where are you in that process?
We've submitted as a breakthrough device designation. We should hear from the FDA by October 8th. They've indicated to us what they'll be asking for us. We hope that the clinical studies that have already been published will be enough evidence for them to grant us clearance. If not, we'll apply for a phase 2 SBIR, complete the clinical study, and then go with the application.
Whom are you competing with in this space? Any similar devices that you know of?
According to the NIH, we are the only medical device, non-pharmacological, that's being developed by a country to address neonatal abstinence syndrome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Shane Owens. I'm the Director of Innovation and Research at Thrust Interactive. We're a game development company that is applying our expertise to the digital health space. And at Thrust, we believe in bringing an engagement-first philosophy to healthcare by leveraging something we call the magic of game science. Now, as Americans, we've all got issues. 70% of us are overweight, a third of us are dealing with one or more chronic conditions, 20% of us mental health issues. There's a lot of money being thrown at these issues. But the problem is that the solutions are trying to engage people at a disease level. At Thrust, we are experts in engagement, and we engage people at a human level. We've been doing it for the past 10 years, launching over 100 products to support big brands like these in engaging their consumers. We're working with healthcare organizations, academic institutions, to try to do this in the digital health space as well. We are currently doing an phase 2 SBIR for the NIH. And what we're trying to create is that engagement-first approach through the Thrust Digital Health Engagement Platform. And this centers around creating a digital health behavior profile that then feeds into our engagement and gamification engines that then can enable an ecosystem of digital health applications. And our flagship application is something that we call Trex. It's a digital therapeutic that helps someone to manage their condition by taking them on a series of tiny, small, personalized, and gamified activities to help them change their behavior. We're working with several organizations to address their particular condition that they're concerned with, whether it's substance use disorder, employee wellness, and pediatric asthma. And I'm just going to jump to the end in the interest of time. I'm here today because we're looking for more partners. We're looking for people that want to partner with us to help build out the platform to address other conditions and pilot those and pilot our solution with their patient population. So if you have a patient population where you're struggling to help them get under control, please consider our engagement-first approach, and we'd be happy to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Have you developed an evidence base or gone through trials and studies to show effectiveness for your products?
That is exactly where we're at, is in that stage of trying to develop that, and that's why we're looking for partners. For example, the Parkview Health that was up there, we just submitted an NIH grant application to apply this to substance use disorder recovery.
So there's a number of different vendors that are trying to help manage chronic conditions and affect patient behavior. Is there a specific area that you're trying to focus?
In terms of the particular chronic
disease
condition?
state or, yeah.
Well, we're trying to take a step back and create that platform that can enable engagement with whatever condition that a particular company might be interested in. But particularly for the Trex application that we're building, we're starting our focus on the pediatric asthma space. So does that answer your question, or okay?
Why pediatric asthma?
So I've been looking a lot at the pediatric space, and for hospitals in particular, one of the biggest challenges for hospitals is uncompensated care. And asthma, I believe, is the number 5 reason for ER visits in the pediatric space. And it's a chronic condition. So if you can get that condition under better control by helping a child take their controller medication on a regular basis and keep them out of the ER, you could save a significant amount of money in uncompensated care. Per hospital, like a hospital like CHLA, I've calculated that's on the order of about $5.5 million just for pediatric asthma. And if you extrapolate that across the country, it's about $330 million.
Who do you see as a customer or customers for your platform?
Well, it could be a number of different organizations. Is one of the slides that I skipped over. But whether it's pediatric hospitals, health plans, pharmacy benefits management, self-insured employers, and even collaborating with medical device manufacturers as well, who need engagement digital platform to complement their medical device.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so while our esteemed judges take all of the presentations under advisement and calculate, I'm going to introduce a parent entrepreneur. Lori, would you like to join me on stage here? So Lori Strongen is the founder and CEO of Hope for Henry. She has a story to tell about her company, and we would like to recognize her as a guest, one of our new members, one of our sponsors, and as a successful parent entrepreneur. So welcome, Lori.
So it's my pleasure to be here. My name is Lori Strongen. I am the founder and CEO of Washington, D.C.-based Hope for Henry Foundation. My son Henry was strong, courageous, athletic, obsessed with Batman. He also was born with Fanconi anemia, a fatal rare disease. Henry, when he was 4.5, we traveled from our home in Washington, D.C. to Minneapolis for Henry's bone marrow transplant. Henry would, for the first time in his life, have to swallow pills, have to get a central line placed, have to get chemotherapy, radiation, go through MRIs, things that he had never had to do before because he was just a normal kid in preschool playing soccer, hanging out with his brother. So I thought to myself, how in the world are we going to get Henry to do all of these things that are so foreign to him? And as happenstance would have it, there was a magic closet in Henry's transplant room. And whenever Henry had to swallow a pill or do something really painful and terrible, the magic closet would deliver a Batman action figure. And over 2.5 years, the magic closet traveled with us to hospitals around the country, depending on Henry's complication, and he amassed a collection of about 300 unbelievable Batman action figures. Henry died when he was 7 years old. And on what would have been his 8th birthday, my husband and I founded Hope for Henry Foundation to reimagine how hospitals care for kids like Henry. What we found was that it was pretty easy to access great medical care regardless of where Henry was treated, but none of the hospitals had sustained services that recognized that Henry was a kid and not just a patient. And for him to heal, medical care was critical but insufficient. He would need quality of life-saving services as well. Today I'm going to talk really quickly about just one of Hope for Henry's many programs. It's called Hope for Henry's Super Path to Super Duper Better, and it's a pediatric patient incentive program. It starts with a colorful game board that each child who is chronically or seriously ill at a range of hospitals around the country, they pick stickers that represent the biggest challenges to them. It could be needle sticks, it could be pill swallowing, MRIs, surgery, whatever it is that's most challenging to them. And then they tell us how much they want to get paid in Hope for Henry bucks, and I can show you what those are. They're just colorful play money, which kids collect in their special Hope for Henry wallet. And every time they go through a challenge, they're paid that amount of money, and they are able to pick something off their own personal wish list. So we had a kid just today who called me from a hospital. He's end of life, but was on his new hoverboard, and that helped him cope with some of the very difficult things. But kids are choosing anything from Lego sets to stuffed animals to iPads. And what they're doing is adhering to their medical plans, they're improving their coping skills, and they're getting better faster with fewer negative long-term effects. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all that you do and for your support of Pediatrics 2040. So we have our winner, but before we get to the winner of the competition, I want to thank our judges for your time and for your great questions. So please join me in thanking our judges. And then maybe one last round of applause for all of our companies that pitched. So CareView, Elemento, First Day Healthcare, MediTeddy, Lumium, Propella, and Thrust Interactive. So we digitally conferred with our fancy tools that we have, and we'd like to announce the winner. So the winner of the 2019 pitch competition at Pediatrics 2040 is Propella. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Al, Meg, come on up. Come on up. No, that's okay. So MediTeddy, Al and Meg, come on, don't be shy. So, as you might have guessed, I've been through a couple pitch competitions maybe in the last year or two. And I was so excited to be here today to share the Propella story with you. And like every event I've been to over the last year and a half, I've met amazing people. And at this conference, that continued. So many of you have reached out, discussed our technology, what we're trying to do, and I thank you for visiting us, sharing your thoughts, and helping us grow as a company. But I also want to thank Elle and Meg because I learned about their story and their incredible journey. I'm so proud of them, I'm inspired by them, and I'd like to donate this to you.